Hi guys, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I pray that you are all doing very well. I mean, so today I'm going to do something a little bit different. I wanted to share a story about my no makeup journey. I know this sounds really random, but it's actually quite interesting. The thought just kind of popped a couple of days ago, just reminding me of my own journey towards no makeup. Now, I just want to say a quick disclaimer. Wearing makeup, I'm not saying that wearing makeup is a bad thing, okay? I just want to talk about my own experiences. So what happened a couple of days, right? A couple of days ago, I was kind of just going through, I was listening to a video and then this advertisement popped up and it was the advertisement of Alicia Keys. She's got this whole new moisturizer selection. She's got new skincare products and all of that. And I remember thinking about just a few years before when she went completely no makeup, right? And I've always said like that was so inspiration to me. It's so inspirational to me. And I began to think of my whole makeup journey in the past, right? So what happened was when I lived in England before 2011, I lived in a community of people who just makeup was the norm, right? Not my direct friends. We were kind of, in some people's words, a little bit unusual, you would say. But most of the people that we went around, if there was like an event happening, it was just normal to just put makeup on, you know, the foundation, the eyeliner, the mascara. It was just a norm. There was no question about it, right? So I moved to America. And when I moved to America in 2011, something happened. I really don't know what it was, but something happened in a way that I began to question everything. In fact, before I moved to America, I didn't even wear a hijab. I wasn't practicing. I didn't really do anything. The bare minimum that I did was fast in Ramadan. And some people would call it a Ramadan Muslim. And whenever I would tell them about this, they were like, yeah, Ramadan Muslims. And I would just be like, well, at least I'm doing something, you know? But then as soon as my fast finished, I was like, okay, you know, just that's it. That's it. No, nothing else. That's all I'm going to do. So I moved to America and something happened, and it's like as if everything that I knew had changed. Obviously, I mean, I'm in a new country, right? But it had changed to a completely different level. For example, I would listen to music, certain types of music, right? In England. And when I came to America, the people who listened to that music was so different to the people who I know this was kind of just my thinking back then, but they were kind of cool, right? And this whole new community of people who listen to the same music, I was like, I don't identify with that at all. And then it kind of just like, even just listening to it just made me feel a certain way. So my whole journey with music, I'm going to just kind of like push that aside. That's another thing, maybe for another day, inshallah. But what happened was a lot of changes were happening. And one of the big changes that was happening was in my own body. I was going through what I felt like was a breakdown. In this breakdown, my skin was breaking out like crazy. And I just felt so weak. I lost a lot of weight. I was like stick thin, just so unhealthy. It wasn't even like a healthy kind of, ooh, she looks good kind of way. It was more like, wow, she does not look well at all. And that is what I used to see in the mirror. So what I would do is to kind of like cover it all up. I would wear makeup because I wanted to feel like, hey, I can be pretty. I'm going to kind of like revive my old days, because there was this kind of thing happening where I was letting go of everything that I knew and stepping into things which were new. So during this time, I kind of like began to get more used to the environment. The food was sitting better with me. If you're from England, then you know how amazing the food is. And coming to America in New York, you have to know where to go in order to get good food. It's not kind of like available readily, at least in my opinion. So anyway, the food was like kind of sitting with me a bit better. I wasn't having these reactions as much. I wasn't feeling as like, you know, broken. Like my whole body felt like it was breaking on me, and I didn't understand why. And at the same time, and it's probably got to do with this as well, I'm going through this spiritual awakening. I'm beginning to tell myself that I'm going to pray 5 times a day. The next thing, okay, I fast in Ramadan, but the next thing I'm going to stick to is praying 5 times a day. That is that is it. That's all I'm going to do, right? I didn't even wear a hijab at this point. And by the way, interesting fact, I worked at an Islamic school. So the hijab for me was literally a uniform. I would take it off as soon as I left the school, and then I would go home, and then I would be back with myself, right? So anyway, what happened was I started getting into poetry. My sister Kashmir Mariam, she is a poet, and she is, mashallah, a very talented poet. And she was performing in a lot of places here in America. She just kind of like, mashallah, it went zoom. And with that, she was just performing in all of these places. And I began to write poetry, and I began to join her at these performances. So we would perform at different places around New York. And then there was also other places as well, Philadelphia. And what I would do again is this self-imposed idea of, right? I have to look the part. I am going to go on a stage and I'm going to share my poetry. I'm going to perform something. So I kind of have to look the part. So there was this kind of glamour aspect to it, which I don't know where it came from. Maybe it was societal, maybe it was from me. So anyway, I was like, okay, I cannot go on the stage with no makeup on. So I would literally cake myself in makeup, make sure that my eyeliner was done, make sure my blush was done, make sure my foundation was done right. I think there was even like some sparkle there as well, and all of the things, lipstick, everything. And I would sparkle it out with like whatever it is that I put on myself. The only part of all of that felt like me was the way I was dressing. So what happened around that time was I began to break out in my skin really, 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 really bad. And it was so bad that I went to a mall one day, and I remember going into the makeup section at Macy's, and the lady looked at me. She's like, no makeup is going to help that. You need to go to a doctor. And I remember I was like, wow, that is so mean, right? So I was like, it's probably true as well. So anyway, I went home and I just kind of really felt really bad. I was like, okay, what do I do? And this nudge kept telling me, and I'm not saying that I broke out because of the makeup and stuff, but it wasn't helping the situation. And I was having an autoimmune response. Something was not right in my life, and my body was telling me that. And one of the things was the makeup thing. So I told myself, I remember making a prayer that day. And I was like, I pray that I can have the confidence to walk down the street one day with no makeup on. I remember making that prayer, and I remember thinking as I made the prayer, I'm like, that is absolutely impossible. That is never going to happen. And then I was like, but it's nice to hope. So I continued wearing the makeup. That was my first nudge, right? I continued wearing the makeup. Instead of giving my skin the space that it needed, what I ended up doing was wearing even more makeup, which made it look even more cakey on my face and a little even more strange. Like there was all these colors and everything. And it actually literally, Assalamu alaikum, sister, it literally made my skin feel like there was a mask on it, and it was like suffocating my face, right? And that's what was happening. So that was the first nudge. But instead of kind of leaning into the nudge of kind of taking off all of that makeup, what I ended up doing was going the direction which I was comfortable in going, where I just put the makeup on and I was like, hey, I feel safe. I feel like, if people look at me, this is the thought that literally went through my mind. I remember thinking, I really hope I don't offend that person for seeing me with no makeup on. Isn't that crazy? It is just so bizarre when I think of it right now, subhanAllah, how much I cared about offending someone else by looking at my face. And I was like, what is going on? And I knew deep down that there was something really, really, really wrong. But I ignored the nudge. Because when you're going through a change and you're trying to come closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it's like you feel very sore. And I spoke about this on the podcast episode yesterday, when the 4 things that happen when you're trying to change, one of them is literally you feel physically sore. So I ignored the nudge. I was like, my brain just wasn't ready to kind of accept that yet. The second nudge happened when I went to ICNA, right? So those of you who know, you've been to ICNA, And you know how it is. We were hosting an event and we're like, we have to look the part, right? We have to look the part. We have to wear the makeup. We have to, dress a certain way and kind of like all of that stuff. So anyway, what happened was went to IGNA. For those of you who are not watching this here in America, Jazakallah khair, sister, Jazakallah khair. And so are you, mashallah. You are also beautiful. MashaAllah. So what happened was, for those of you who are not in America, IGNA is an event which is for, it's for Muslims and it's in North America. It's huge. It's a convention. A lot of people go there. And alhamdulillah, we had an event there with the Strangers. So those of you who know me from back then, it's called Strange Inc. now, but it was called the Strangers. We did poetry slams. So I thought to myself, like, I have to dress the part, again, feeling like I am in a role, like as if I am, posturing, like, I act like this and you act like that. And I remember I would speak to people who were there and there would be this kind of, I knew deep down, I was like, I feel like we're playing a game here right now. We're all acting like, oh, extra polite, but there's a mask there and what's really going on underneath? And is this how I'm supposed to act? And I would give in to the game. I'd be like, I can play the game, let me just wear the makeup and let me just wear all the clothes and all the fancy stuff. And then I'll play the game. I'll play the game. Right. So anyway, what happened was I was staying with my friend at a hotel. Her name is Amina. I absolutely love her to bits. And she has a daughter now called Aisha. May Allah bless all of them. Ameen. So anyway, my friend Amina, she looked at me and she looked at my outfit. As I said, the only thing which felt like me was the clothes that I would wear. And she was just looking at me and I said, what's up? And I think she was wearing this face mask and she, in the hotel room. And she's like, Aisha, that does not fit that. And she looked at my face and I'm like, what doesn't fit what? And she goes, you don't look like you should be wearing makeup. Like, you don't need to. And it wasn't in a way which was like judgmental. It was more like, Aisha, just like embrace yourself. And I remember thinking, Assalamu alaikum. I remember thinking to myself, I was like, oh my goodness, I really, really, I agree with her. And I remember thinking to myself, what would it feel like if I wore no makeup and I gave myself the freedom to do that? Like, what would it feel like? I didn't let myself go there. That was the second nudge. The third nudge, right, was a few years ago. Now I'm getting married. I'm getting to know my husband, and you know how it is when you're getting to know your spouse. You want to look the best. You wear your makeup. You make sure you're dressed good and all of that. In fact, the night that he came and we saw each other the first time, I wasn't supposed to know that he was there to see me, but the one thing that I stuck to again was my clothes. I wanted to make sure my clothes felt like me. And I wore military boots. My mom is here right now actually watching this video. But she said to me, don't wear military boots. You have to wear heels, okay? I was like, nope, I'm wearing my military boots. And that's what he noticed about me, my military boots, right? So anyway, the thought of not wearing any makeup was like, oh my goodness. So anyway, we get married. And I don't wear any makeup one day. And he looks at me and he goes, what did he say? He was like, something is different about you today. I can't figure out what it is. And I remember like a thought hit me and I'm like, oh my goodness. This whole time I've been thinking that I'm wearing makeup to be pleasant, to look, for the people who look at me and all of that, and kind of like, be myself a little bit more. And you don't even notice, like, you don't even care about that. And I was like, oh my gosh. So that was like another nudge which happened. And around that time, Alicia Keys had come, like, you know how it is in the celebrity industry. Well, at least what we know of the celebrity industry, there is a whole thing where you have to look the right way. You go on the red carpet, you're dressed a certain way, your dress has to look a certain way, your face has to look a certain way. You wear makeup, even if it looks like no makeup, if you know what I mean. So anyway, Alicia Keys comes out barefaced. So I looked at her and I was like, oh my goodness, I'm so inspired right now. So I basically took off all my makeup and I started doing it on a regular basis. And I remember the feeling of air on my face. And I was like, this feels amazing. And then I started doing it more regularly. But then I went to ICNA and I was like, nope, everyone is done up their best. Everyone is decked out. I have to kind of like fit in. So I think I did that the first year after making this decision of like lessening the makeup and just falling into myself a little bit more. And then I began to do it a little bit more and I began to do it a little bit more. until I think the last couple of years, I've just not worn anything, any makeup, maybe a little bit of eyeliner, maybe a bit of kohl, but really nothing else. And I remember, I think it's been 2 Eids now that I've been completely foundationless, and I have felt more like myself, right? So what is the point of me telling you all of this information about my no makeup journey, right? And the point is that when I knew that there was a change that was more aligned to me, and again, at the beginning of this video, I made a disclaimer. This isn't a go at people who wear makeup. It's not a go at makeup itself. I think makeup is an amazing, amazing thing as long as, you do it in a way that aligns with you and not for other people, right? So it's something that is true to you. So with the whole makeup thing, I just knew in my heart that my skin kept saying no. I read a book by Gabor Mate, right? It's called The Body Says No. And it's all about when we've lived a way of living for so long, but our body physically is rejecting that way. And it's literally saying no, because we're not saying no with our mouths or our minds, right? But every other part of us is saying no. And at that time, in this case, specifically with the makeup, everything inside of me was like, no, no, no. I don't want to do it anymore. I don't want to fit a standard that I feel like I have to fit. I remember, subhanAllah, just on this, there was this event, I think it was like a hijabi event for sisters. It was a fashion event. And I remember wearing a lot of makeup and wearing my clothes in the certain way that I did, thinking that, okay, maybe I'll fit in with the sisters and, we'll get along and, we'll be friends and all of that. This is before, actually, I think about 7 or 8 years ago. And I remember thinking, like, I feel so out of place in this event. It's not even funny. It's crazy. And I don't know why that was, but I realized that, it doesn't matter how much you try and change yourself, how much you try and look a certain way. If people have made their mind up about you, there is no point in persuading them otherwise, because they like you or they don't like you. And the most important thing is for us to like ourselves. And with time, it has taken me a long time to kind of come to that stage of liking myself, right? So without makeup and with makeup, back to the makeup. But the point is that when a change is calling, when a change is being called to through our bodies, right? I was breaking out like crazy, and we keep kind of like moving away from it. The reason why we move away from it is because the other way is more comfortable. It was so much more comfortable for me when I was breaking out to just cover my face all over again and then inflame the problem and kind of give in to what I thought would be an ease for other people who didn't even care. Like in the end, they didn't even care, right? What was most important about it, all of this, was how did I feel about it? How did I feel about it? And I like makeup when I want to wear it, but I don't want to feel like I have to wear makeup in order to fit a standard that society has imposed upon me, whether that is self-imposed because I perceive them to think like that, or if it is because of something that is actually real, like, you should be looking like this if you are performing at this event. You should be talking like this if you want to be around us. You should be acting like this because that makes me feel comfortable, right? And it is never, ever, ever enough. So the point is that when there is a change calling for you, it is going to be hard. Listen to the podcast episode that I dropped yesterday on the Beautiful Seeds podcast. The link is all in the bio. And inshallah, you'll see the 4 resistance things that come when you're trying to make a change. These are the 4 kind of blocks, right? And these are the things which happen when you try and change. I also wanted to let you know, inshallah, on that note, that there is also a retreat that we're going to be doing on this Saturday. It is a pre-Ramadan spiritual retreat. It is a community and is going to be from 10 a.m. EST, that is New York time, from 4 p.m. EST, inshallah. And the doors close tonight, okay? So just before midnight, as the clock hits, whatever it hits, it goes ding dong. I don't know. It's gonna close before then, inshallah. So I really, really hope to see you there, inshallah. If you have any questions about the event, about the retreat, send me a DM, send me an email. Inshallah, I will get back to you. And I hope you all have a blessed day, even if I don't see you. Sign up to my email list because I have a gift for you, inshallah. And inshallah, that will help either way. And I want to hear from you. I want to hear what's on your mind. Sister said, just want to let you know that I was reminiscing, writing masterclass. Subhanallah. I don't believe in coincidences, sister. I don't believe in that. So today, as my patient was an author, and I told her about, that's amazing, mashallah. Just on another note as well, the writing class is also available, inshallah. And now, so maybe one day I can also be an author, inshallah. Follow Strange Incorporated, sister. I think you already do, and there's going to be some amazing opportunities, inshallah, for writers. So I hope you stay blessed. Jazakallah khair for joining me, and jazakallah khair for joining me, and have a beautiful, blessed day, everyone. And I really hope to see you on Saturday. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, everyone.